in there as well. As I played with Claudia right from the beginning in the very first episode, where I alerted the writers that this could possibly happen and see where that took us as characters. Yes.
Lani, can I ask, and your perspectives on working with Ben over the course of the years as actors?
It's probably a better question for Lani, because obviously I only did that. Sure.
Look, Ben is an absolute trooper and a total professional, and it was amazing to watch him day in, day out, months on, years on end, turn up every day and just totally focused and go in there. And initially it was fascinating because American actors are totally different to Australian actors or Antipodean actors. They've been at the business for some time, a little longer. It's a much bigger pool, and they know a lot about technical issues on set with lights and lenses. And those two components, unless you're working on a long-running show in Australia, you don't get to really have the experience to do that. But most of the people that were on the show had a fair amount of experience, and it was really wonderful to see another actor from another country work under the tight conditions that we work in. And I have top marks for Ben.
I'm sure you'll say the same.
Well, that would be nice, but but essentially, from my part, I'm absolutely amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Did you get to keep your red shoes?
No. No. In fact, on eBay there's a there's a pair going up there now. Right?
The official one.
But what I'm interested in is actually I have the coat, my jacket, right? But what I'm also interested in is what is the other coat doing up there right now? So maybe you want to just kind of check it out.
There you go.
Yes.
Australia is a relatively small community as far as acting is concerned, so you tend to do movies, television and stage. When you go to the States, is it more difficult? Are you more typecast? Because they sort of look at it and say television, your television, your television roles, or is it easier? Is it relatively easy in America to get into movies? Do they know of your stage work?
Are you asking Linda? Or? Well, I don't know. Maybe you want to take it.
Look, I've only been to America. I went to LA years and years and years ago, and I was only there for about a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. Everyone says, I actually did do a film there years later, but I was kind of I had a film called Black Rock on at the Sundance Film Festival, and some producers approached me and said, we'd like you to do this film. Anyway, I ended up doing this film. It was an art house film shot in Minneapolis or somewhere. And I did a screen test in LA when I was there, and they're saying, you've got to stay, you've got to stay, you've got to stay for at least 6 months. Well, maybe you have to, but I want to go home. I just like it here better. I mean, I'm an Australian, and I've had a good career in Australia, and I'm not that comfortable over there. And I'm certainly not that prepared to put in the hard yards. And I think in a way, it's easier when you're in your young 20s. It gets harder as you get older, both kind of from a professional point of view and just from a personal point of view. So I'm not really a good person to ask about that, although I do know that you have managers who, or agents and managers who kind of look after certain areas, which you don't have here. So you'll have your commercials agent and your theatrical agent and your voiceover agent. And it's very, very different to here, because here very much it is one agent handles everything, and we don't have managers here really. They have managers as well. So yeah, insofar as that, you can very much end up being specialising. And look, for an actor in America and Australia, you're constantly fighting typecasting, aren't you? And one of the reasons I've always tried to do a lot of theatre in my career is because it's in the area of theatre that you get to really flex your muscles as an actor and not get typecast. And I've often taken roles in film and television that I wouldn't normally be cast in, because I think, great, somebody's seeing me as a downtrodden working class mum, I'm there, or play a corporate animal, or just to try and keep pushing the envelope a bit, because I think typecasting and a tight package for an actor's death, especially here, because you've just got to be versatile to get the work, to survive.
There's a much bigger pool of people to draw from in America, and hence the specialization comes into it. And a colleague of mine who's in Babylon 5, Steve Austin, was telling me one day that they had an exercise with his class, and they went out to the airport, and they went out to a couple of other public locations, and they had on the list all the actors that were there had on the list there what people's types, you know, what category that they thought people actually were in. Did this person look like a homeless person? Did this person who, you know, who was walking by look like a business person? And there, you know, there was a whole list they went down, and then the roles were reversed, where public were then asked to actually nominate what they thought these actors from this class, what their kind of type was like. And it was really, really fascinating. And from that, you get this idea that people, no matter what your merits are, people are actually cast on the look. And in America, that's what you have. So in my instance, in Australia, there was one conversation that I had with a lady who's dearly departed, but I'll never forget, she was introduced me to some Americans, and she happened to mention that here's Lani, Tupu, and he's my favorite, our favorite exotic. Now, at that moment, I kind of died 1,000 deaths, and I just had to pull myself back a little bit and just kind of see it from her angle. And it had nothing, you know, it was a very difficult moment for me, because I suddenly thought, that's actually how you probably sell me to other people. And I had done, like I was brought up on Shakespeare, on Chekhov in New Zealand. That was my craft in theatre, and so I came over here. And that was a real cold moment for me to kind of realize that's what happens here. So the most difficult thing for me has been to actually go try and find stage work to to address the imbalance in how people will perceive me. And one of the nicest castings I've ever had really was for Farscape, where there was no kind of, we're looking for an English type character. You know, I suddenly was cast in that role as the captain. So for me, that was a great, nice moment. And then working for Ray Lawrence in Lantana was wonderful, because he wasn't kind of going, because I rang up a casting lady who said, you know, call me back after the read-through. And I said, it's a fantastic story, and I'd love to be in it no matter what, and there is a role going for it. And I'll put my hand up, because you could cast, you know, the role that I went for as a cameo 10,000 times in this town. And the first call came back from Ray Lawrence, and said, look, his hair, you know, we can't really use him. But he wasn't, I was reading for Jeffrey Rush's role, because he wasn't in town at that moment. And so he knew from the reading what I was capable of doing. And then the loveliest compliment was to actually go, yep, on the second call, he's in. So, you know, I get to play him, you know. But you've got to constantly work. And the same thing it is like for actresses in this country. You've got to keep, you know, talking to people and saying, listen, I'm capable of doing the role, for God's sakes. Well, why are you going this way? What is it? Why does she have to be a blonde, or, you know, whatever? And there's a terrible thing here, also here, where for women, it's sort of like 20 under or 21 under, and all the roles go, and then you just go. In Britain, they've got a much fairer casting system for women, and also and ethnic roles in England, because of the diversity of people. And I go, well, Australia's also that diverse as well. And so it's a matter of educating producers to actually understand the reflection of what you see in the streets now has to come up onto the screen.
It's slowly changing. I mean, when you compare it to 20 years ago, I suppose ethnic actors get a lot more.